Welcome to something rare, something almost mythical in the automotive world. Today we're looking back at a Bugatti you might have never heard of, a piece of history that sits between the golden age of motorsport and the rebirth of a brand. We're diving deep into the 1979 to 1980 Bugatti demo car, a mysterious machine that never went into production, but stood as a symbol of ambition and vision when the Bugatti name was almost forgotten. By the late 1970s, Bugatti was not the powerhouse supercar brand it is today. In fact, after World War II, the original French marque had practically disappeared. The factory in Molsheim had shut down, and Bugatti's legendary pre-war racing days were a fading memory. But there were people who didn't want that legacy to die. One of them was Italian entrepreneur Romano Ardioli, who would later go on to revive Bugatti officially in the 1990s with the EB110. But before all that, before the revival, there was a strange and beautiful experiment, a Bugatti demo car built around 1979 or 1980, with the idea of bringing the brand back to life. This wasn't a production car. It wasn't something you could buy. It was more of a concept or a prototype, meant to show that the Bugatti spirit still existed. Very little is known about the exact engineering details, but what we do know comes from a handful of photos and eyewitness reports from collectors and historians who saw it in the metal. First off, the design. This car didn't look like a traditional Bugatti Type 57 or a Type 35. It didn't carry over the pre-war lines. Instead, it leaned heavily into the design language of the late 70s and early 80s: sharp lines, wedge-shaped body, pop-up headlights, and bold surfaces. Think of it like a blend between a Lotus Esprit and a Ferrari 308, but with its own flair. The Bugatti logo was front and center, unmistakable on the grille, signaling that this wasn't just any Italian-style concept. It was trying to bring the French legend into a new era. The body was sleek, aerodynamic, and clearly influenced by the era's obsession with futuristic shapes. At the time, designers believed that angular cars represented speed, progress, and the cutting edge of performance. And even if this Bugatti demo wasn't built for the racetrack, it certainly looked like it was. Reports suggest that the car may have been powered by a mid-mounted V8 engine, likely borrowed from another manufacturer due to Bugatti's lack of existing engine production at that time. Some even speculate it could have used components from Maserati or Alfa Romeo, especially since those Italian brands were also undergoing their own evolution during that period. The point wasn't ultimate performance, it was about making a statement. On the inside, this Bugatti demo featured a mix of luxury and minimalism. It had analog gauges, stitched leather, a driver-focused layout, and some futuristic touches like digital readouts and toggle switches that were way ahead of their time. It was meant to evoke both nostalgia and optimism, giving the driver a feeling of sitting in something exclusive, experimental, and historic. Now, let's talk about why this car mattered. In 1980, there were few supercar players in the game. Ferrari, Lamborghini, Porsche, those were the big names. Bugatti was a ghost, a name from the past. But this car said, "We're not done." It was a silent declaration. A dream on wheels that hinted at the possibility of a return. Sadly, the 1979 to 1980 Bugatti demo never went beyond this single example. There was no mass production, no follow-up model. The automotive industry at that time was dealing with fuel crises, rising regulations, and massive financial uncertainty. A niche luxury performance car with no clear production backing wasn't something the market could handle. So, the project faded into obscurity. But what this demo car did was inspire. It showed that the Bugatti name still carried weight. Collectors took notice. Designers looked at it as a bridge between two worlds: the Art Deco elegance of pre-war Bugattis and the exotic, angular machines of the future. And perhaps most importantly, it laid the mental groundwork for Bugatti's eventual return in the 1990s under Ardiola's leadership, which led to the EB110 and, much later, the Veyron and Chiron. The lone surviving example of this demo, if it still exists in full form, is likely tucked away in a private collection or museum. It's the kind of car you don't see in auctions. You hear about it in whispers. It's a one-off, a glimpse into an alternate timeline where Bugatti never disappeared after World War II but instead evolved into something else entirely. Imagine driving this thing through the winding roads of the Alps in 1980. The sound of the engine echoing through the mountains, the pop-up headlights slicing through the fog, the Bugatti logo glowing on the hood. It would feel like you were piloting a spaceship, a machine born ahead of its time, full of elegance and raw intent. Even though it's not widely known, and it never hit production, the 1979 to 1980 Bugatti demo deserves a place in automotive history. It's a tribute to ambition. A tribute to what's possible when passion meets engineering. And it reminds us that even legends can go quiet for a time, but with the right spark, they can roar back to life. Would you want to see Bugatti build something like this again, a throwback to that 70s futuristic wedge style, reimagined with today's tech? That's a question we're left asking every time we catch a glimpse of this forgotten masterpiece. Because sometimes, it's the cars that never made it to production that stir the imagination the most.